Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the second round SBA Stimulus Program Workshop presented by the Orange County Muslim Chamber of Commerce. We have a very important topic for our business owners today, but first a little bit about the Muslim Chamber of Commerce. This organization is an affiliate of Muslim American Society and offers a space to promote Muslim businesses in the community. Some of its projects include developing a directory of local Muslim businesses so we can support their efforts, developing a network for job creators and job seekers to coordinate employment opportunities, and develop a mentoring system to help find internship and experience opportunities for students in different fields of practice. So please become a member of this ambitious organization. You can visit our website at ocmuslimchamber.com to join and also, see the progress of our projects. So first up, we have a few sponsors to thank for supporting MCC's efforts. We have Beit al-Mal, Islamic Relief, and Zakat Foundation. And we will just take a moment to see first Beit al-Mal's, what they have to offer.
السلام عليكم. أنا أم خالد من قلعة المضيق، نازحة على مخيمات أطمة. والله لما مطرت الدنيا طفنا أنا والوليدات، عندي 2 يتامى لا أم ولا أب. والله ما عنا شي نتآوى فيه، وهي خيمتنا ولا عنا تدفئة. أنا والعالم يعني مو بس أنا، كمان هون طافوا كتير عالم معاي، وهي خيمتي يعني طلعوا عليها كليتها طفنا فيها، والطراريح صارت تسبح تحتنا، يعني ما عنا شي، ما عنا غير رحمة الله. عندي الولد معاق يتيم لا أم ولا أب، ماله غير الله وأنا رب العالمين. وبدنا شي يعني إنه تعطونا شي نتدفى، أحرامات نتغطى. والله البرد قتلنا والله، وتعرفوا المعاص صعب، يعني الله يساعد البشر، مو بس أنا كل العالم، يعني كل العالم الله يساعده. يوم بيجي الخبز والله بناكل، يوم ما بيجي ما بناكل. طالبين من الله ومنكم المساعدة. الله يحميكم ويكتر خيركم، والله يا رب يجزيكم الخير ويكتب لكم السلامة بجاه الحبيب محمد. الله لا يحيشكم لحدا يا رب.
So, well, in light of that, we know we have great opportunities here to work on our businesses, and that's what we're here to help with, so that we can extend our fortunes with others. So we will be presenting the other uh, sponsors throughout as well. So my name is Safura Khan. I'm an attorney at Cornerstone Law Offices, where we provide estate planning, asset protection, tax planning, and financial strategies for our clients. So please check us out at cornerstonelawservices.com if we can help you with any of that. Coming back to our topic today, we'll be discussing the second Paycheck Protection Program recently released by the federal government. And we have 3 excellent speakers who will share their knowledge to make things more understandable to all of us. So we encourage questions. Please post them in the Q&A section and we'll address them when appropriate. I'd also like to give out a reminder that this webinar is for educational purposes and not intended to be legal advice, and to please seek out professionals who can help you with your own specific situation. So first we have 2 members of the SBA. We're going to be welcoming Ron Galati. He has been with the SBA for nearly 3 years. His key responsibilities include marketing of SBA products and services and training and consulting with lenders and borrowers on SBA loan programs. Ron has over 25 years of experience, largely in financial services with companies such as Bank of America, Capital One, and the FDIC. His experience include marketing, business development, financial analysis, and underwriting in the areas of consumer and commercial lending. He has an MBA in banking and finance, and a bachelor's in engineering, and his family has lived in Orange County for over 20 years. And we also have joining us Adam Johns. He's an outreach and marketing specialist in the U.S. and Small Business Administration's Orange County Inland Empire District Office. And after joining the SBA last year, Adam completed a temporary detail with the Office of Disaster Assistance, where he served as a loan officer. While on assignment, Adam reviewed thousands of COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan applications and made over 1,200 lending decisions. So prior to joining the SBA, Adam spent years in the private sector working in customer service and marketing for Pacific Life Insurance Company, and then as an operations manager for George Cross and Sons Incorporated, the owner and operator of Pomona Swap Meet and Classic Car Show. And he's a graduate of UC Irvine, where he majored in poli-sci and minored in criminology. And so we're in good hands today, and I will let you guys take it from here.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and I hope you're seeing my screen. This is Ron Galati. As I was introduced, I'm a lender relations specialist here in the Orange County Inland Empire office located in Santa Ana. So I hope you're hearing and seeing my screen.
We can hear you, but I don't see the screen.
Okay, let me try sharing it again.
There we go.
How's that?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I'm joined today, like it was introduced, by Adam Johns, a colleague in our office in Santa Ana. And we're both going to do a little tag team on this. We have a lot to cover. We wanted to try to overview the entire benefits of the Economic Hard Hit Businesses and Nonprofit Venues Act, which we shorten up to say Economic Aid Act, signed December 27th of last year. So we're gonna, I know there are more emphasis and there may be more questions on PPP. We're gonna try to spend more time on that, but we are gonna give it some additional coverage. So with that said, thank you for that disclaimer, Vice Sephora, because this information is the best we have at this point in time. Things may change as we continue to receive additional information from headquarters. I want to just take a step back a little bit and talk about the key programs as far as the Corona relief options. They have been the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDL, and the Paycheck Protection Program. And as you can see off to the left of the graphic here for EIDL, $192 billion as of the end of last year. This snapshot was at the end of last year. 3.6 million businesses served. On the Paycheck Protection side, 528 billion, 5.2 million served. The programs, EIDL is certainly a loan. It's not a forgivable loan, but it is at a good interest rate, 3.75 for profit, 2.75 nonprofit, out to 30 years, meant to cover 6 months or more of working capital. And hopefully Adam's going to take you through just a quick view of how you can apply for that and maybe some key features about it. Paycheck Protection Program, on the other hand, if everything works well, if you meet the conditions, spend the money correctly, you could have that loan completely forgiven. If you have a balance left, it'll be at 1% interest for 5 years. With that said, I want to also mention, and I hope you can see this transition pretty quickly, but important to our programs, both the previous program and as we go forward, to make sure we're really having this program available to our whole diversity of population, minorities, underserved, women-owned businesses. And I think the testament to that is some of the information you're seeing here, which is that the average loan size, we try to again look at the small businesses as well, make sure we're serving those. The average loan size for, as of last year, was $101,000. This is on the PPP loan, $101,000. 27% of those funds going to low to moderate income communities. and 70%, as we mentioned, to businesses. Again, these are the smaller businesses. So we're really happy about that. And we're also earmarking going forward portions of these loans to ensure that we're getting, first of all, we're getting started off by opening PPP to smaller lenders in communities, and hopefully we're able to get some of those businesses, smaller businesses in first. We do have a $35 billion earmark for first draw PPP borrowers coming for this new round of PPP, and we're also again setting aside the 15 to 25 billion. Oh, sorry, 15 billion and 25 billion first draw and second draw loan, respectively, for borrowers with a maximum of 10 employees, or for loans of less than 250,000 to borrowers in low and moderate income neighborhoods. So with that said, let's kind of do an update. Nationwide, this is a report as of January 31st this year, so a few days ago. In the first 20 days of the newest round of PPP, more than 891,000 PPP loans were approved, totaling $73 billion. 68% of those loans have been for $50,000 or less, 81% for $100,000 or less. And again, reinforcing that smallest to small business being served. Second draw PPP loans made up 75% of the loans we're processing, again, indicating there's many businesses that need to come back in for additional funds. In California, in those first 20 days, 86,000 PPP loans, over 8.4 billion. Important, we're going to show you the key areas to look at for gaining more information. Just basically what we've presented today will be available on these websites. SBA.gov is the go-to. Key things are going to be there. It's posted first. That's where everything goes once everything's approved. And we bring it to your attention because sometimes it's hard to find. There's a lot of information. You'll go on, we'll show you how to do that. Hover under funding programs and you can go from there. If you want to go quickly to Paycheck Protection at sba.gov/PPP. Another important site is our Orange County Inland Empire website. We'll point this out relatively quickly, but the reason why it's important, we've got some more information on there that would be helpful to you. Obviously, take a look at our resource guide in terms of all the services we can provide, and all our resource partners are in there as well that can help you one-on-one sessions to better understand these programs, to help you through the application process, forgiveness process, you name it. These resource partners have been with the SBA for years, and they're competent to doing their job. We're going to continue to do these programs through our 2 p.m. program, 2 to 3 p.m. Daily. We will be able to show you where you can access the links for the recordings. We can also send that to you and have distributed to your members. But you sign up for Gov Delivery in this particular link, and then you can you basically will receive these webinars periodically. So with that said, I want to jump over to COVID summary. Something's in my way here, so I close this here. And so $325 billion was allocated for the SBA to press ahead on these COVID-19 relief programs. And it's earmarked as follows. The PPP has 184, almost 305 billion, 35 billion of which is first draw, 20 billion for a targeted idle advance. If you're familiar with the economic injury disaster loan, there was an advance as part of that program. This is definitely different. It's very targeted. We'll talk about that. Shuttered venues operators grant. You probably heard of that. As you can look around the scene, you see many of the museums, many of the zoos, many of the theaters closed or virtually closed. So we're trying to put some relief out there. SBA debt relief. Last year you may have been aware, but when the program kicked off and the relief, we were able to provide payments on any SBA loan starting in April through September, principal and interest on your 504-7A or existing microloan. Then that stopped and the funding ran out. So we subsequently have re-upped that. There's some additional months we will be able to make payment. This is going to predicate on the fact that you are in regular servicing. You've been keeping up with your payments. And there's $2 billion allocated for our ability to do our job, launch these programs, maintain these programs, report to Congress, audit, ensure we got programs that will serve the larger population and will mitigate any fraud. So let's go to PPP right away. And I'm going to be talking fast, and I know there'll be some Q&A, so I just want to hit the high points here so we get it in. And the program started January the 11th. It's through March 31st. Very important. You get those applications in. First, it's broken up now. We got the first draw. If you haven't had an opportunity to take advantage, there is money there for the first draw. Similar ground rules. Second draw, a little bit different because we have a threshold now of 300 employees as being small, and you have to achieve demonstrate a 25% reduction in gross receipts 2020 over 2019. As it was previously, the first draw in this case is going to be 10 million, and the second draw is 2 million. Both of these applications are open right now, and you can get both. If you can get it in time, you get the first, and you can still get the second. Expansion. Now we got the 501c6s. I hope you're glad to hear that, and the chambers are really happy to see that we now have them in the mix. The destination marketing organizations. Again, the limits are 300 employees and 15% of the revenue, no more than 15% of the revenue from lobbying. Newspapers, TV, and radio stations were added, and the use of proceeds is been expanded. We'll talk more about maybe I'll talk about it right now. The average, we basically previously had payroll where it was the payroll cost included in your as far as eligible expenses, but in addition to that, it was the amount you as an employer contributed to an employee's retirement plan or his health care. That's been expanded to include now life, vision, dental, disability. So if you make contributions there, those will be included, as well as on the non-payroll operating expense side. We've added, dollars and expenses for your normal operating expenses, and with a focus on particularly worker protection with regard to, facial protection, new ventilation, those kinds of things. Simplified forgiveness up to 150,000. Previously, 50,000 was the max. The new forms are out there up to 150. This is a very simplified process. Ongoing and retroactive, very important. Idle advance at one point, by virtue of the CARES Act, was reduced your forgiveness. That is no longer the case. Anyone that had their forgiveness reduced will be rectified, and the lender will be paid off for that balance. And borrow applications, like I said, are open and ready to go. So hopefully all the lenders, all SBA lenders, and I'll show you a list that we have as well that are taking applications right now. I'm going to let Adam jump in here and cover the economic injury disaster loan program in the shuttered venues.
Hey, thank you, Ron, and good morning, everybody. And I will share my screen now if I can. Bear with me for 1 second. Hopefully you can see this website now, showing the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant.
We're not seeing it just yet.
Try one more time and I'll try to be quick. How's that? Is that better?
There we got it.
Okay, so the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant will have a much more limited audience, obviously. This is a new program from the Economic Aid Act that really is targeting performance venues, movie theaters, museums, live music operators or promoters, things like that. So it's going to be a lot more limited to who can apply for this. But it is going to be a very good program for those venues. And there are some important distinctions that Ron kind of already touched on. But some of the key things for this is that the grant amount is going to be based on 45% of your gross revenue. So it can be a much more significant amount potentially than what you might receive through a PPP loan. Unfortunately, you can only have one or the other at this point. So it's okay if you received PPP prior to December 27th. You could still apply for this Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, but you could not currently be applying for a new PPP and still go after this grant. It really is either or. So you would need to determine which program makes more sense for your business. the shuttered venue operators grant has a lot more flexibility with how the money can be used. It's also not a loan, it is a grant, so you don't have to request forgiveness on the back end, so that's nice. But this program has not yet launched yet. We don't have an application date. So if you're interested in this, if you do qualify as a live venue operator, a movie theater, a museum, a zoo, talent representative, something like that, we definitely encourage you to look into this program. Right now, all of the information is on our SBA website. There is a shut venues to find some answers to eligibility and program requirements, things like that. One major thing, if you do think you qualify, that we are encouraging everybody to do now, if you are interested in this program, is you do need to register for a Dun and Bradstreet number. It's a DUNS number, and you need to register with sam.gov, which is the system for award management. We're expecting this program to be administered through the grants.gov website, and both the DUNS number and the sam.gov registration are required for you to be awarded a grant through that grants.gov website. That process of registering can take a couple of weeks. So it's important that you do that as soon as possible so you can be ready once the application process opens. And if you need any help with this, if you are interested in this program, definitely myself or someone else in our office, we can help you through it. As I said, the application date has not been released yet, but we anticipate that it will be sooner rather than later. And so that is the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. And now, Ron, if you don't mind, I'll take through the Economic Injury Disaster Loan application process, which this also is a separate program from the Paycheck Protection Program. But this is, as Ron mentioned, a separate loan program with very competitive terms. It's got a 3.75% interest rate, a 30-year term. So the monthly payments are relatively low, no prepayment penalty, and your first payment is deferred for 1 year after funding. So that's, anticipates that hopefully COVID-19 will be closer to over, will be closer to business as usual by the time your payments would be due. The main thing between this and PPP, though, this is a loan. You do have to pay it back. There's no forgiveness, but it's also intended to provide 6 months of working capital compared to PPP, which is really designed to provide payroll. So this can be used, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL, can be used for rent, utilities, scheduled loan, tax payments, things like that. You apply all online. This one is through the SBA.gov website. This is an SBA program administered by our Office of Disaster Assistance. They take the applications, they review the applications, they make the lending decision. But once you apply, it can be a relatively quick process to get money into your account. I've seen loans funded within 2 weeks of the application date. So if you are desperate and you have not applied for this program yet and you think you may qualify, we definitely encourage you to go to the SBA.gov website, go to the funding programs and the coronavirus relief options to link to the EIDL page, and the apply online button is on the website. Once you apply, it will give you your application number. If you qualify, it's going to send you an email invitation asking you to set up an online account in the loan portal. And from there, you'll be able to view your loan quote. The application won't move forward until you accept the terms of the loan. So you need to watch out for that email. Make sure you accept the terms of the quote, terms of the loan. That'll make it force the file to go forward to a loan officer. And from there, they'll make the decision. They'll review all eligibility requirements, make sure you are eligible for the program. They'll look at the loan amount and they'll make the lending decision. But again, this is a very good loan program with very competitive terms, different from Paycheck Protection Program, different terms, different things you can use the money for, but definitely a good way to get capital for your business if you need it. And if you have not applied previously, only one EIDL loan is available per business per unique tax ID number. So if you've applied previously, there may be other things you can do with it. You may be able to request an increase to your loan amount, or if you were declined, you might be able to go through the reconsideration process to get your application reactivated. But again, a very good program, and it's just something else to consider. The last thing I'll mention is this is not an SBA program, but the state of California currently has a small business relief grant program that opened up on February 2nd, and the application window goes until February 8th. You can find information on that at www.careliefgrant.com. It's like californiareliefgrant.com, careliefgrant.com. But that also is another potential funding source for your business. And we encourage you to explore all options, especially now during COVID-19. And Ron, I think that's all I have.
Thank you. I hope you're seeing the screen now that shows the Economic Disaster Program, EIDL Advance. Hopefully you're seeing that.
We don't see that. We see, there we go. Now we see it.
Okay, excellent. So as Adam mentioned, thank you for that, Adam. And we're obviously worried about the time, and we know you have questions, so we're going to try to get through some of the other section as quickly as we can. But importantly, the targeted advance. Do you want to say a few words about targeted EIDL, Adam?
Yeah, I apologize. I probably skipped right over that. But so the COVID-19 EIDL program originally included money for an advance or grant that was originally allocated as $1,000 per employee that you had for your business, up to 10. So you could receive up to $10,000. The new economic, that money, the funding for that part of the program ran out last July. The new Economic Aid Act provided additional money for a targeted EIDL advance program. It is essentially, if you received a part of that grant last year, if you received $1,000, for instance, the new targeted EIDL advance looks to make you whole up to $10,000, but it is really aimed at small businesses in low income communities. So depending on where your business is located, you may or may not qualify for this. The Loan Center is going to be reaching out to everybody, sending emails out. So look for an email if you did apply for EIDL previously, but you may qualify for additional grant money through the targeted EIDL advance. They're going to be looking, obviously, as I said, at low income communities, and then businesses that suffered a 30% decline in revenue during an 8-week period in 2020 from March 2nd, 2020 or later. But if you applied for the EIDL program prior to December 27th, keep an eye out for that email because you may be eligible for more grant money through the targeted EIDL advance.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate that. I know you've already covered shuttered venues, so we're going to move through this last few key items. Debt relief, as I mentioned, was started last year for anyone with an SBA loan. That's going to continue as of February 1st and 3 additional months. Again, the requirement, you're in regular servicing, maximum $9,000 per month, maximum of 1 loan. If you have 2 loans, it's only going to apply to 1 loan. Letters are going out on that as well. So you should see that if you are a borrower or a current borrower. There's also going to be a period from February 1st to September 30th. If you take a new loan, you're going to take the benefit of that 6 months of principal and interest paid as well. So hopefully that's an advantage to those that can continue to grow their businesses during this difficult time. With that said, there's an additional 5 months available for those in the food service industry and accommodations, the next code 72, potentially available for you subsequent to after the 3 months. There could be an additional 5 months available. Again, that should be communicated to you by our SBA team. Operations, we talked about the money's being available there so we can do our jobs. And temporary modifications to 7A programs. This is important. The 90%, we're raising the guarantee on our 7A programs to 90% from somewhere around 75, 80 normally. This allows the lenders to sell more of those loans because they do sell these loans and free up their balance sheet to do more lending. It also gives them hopefully allowance to maybe open up their credit box somewhat more because the government is guaranteeing these loans. We have an express product that's part of our 7A program, a little bit faster way to apply, faster underwriting process. Now we've raised that limit to $1 million. And the other thing is on these new loans, so that we will be waiving the fees, the lender and borrower fees from December 27th, so retro from December 27th to September 30th. So that's the key intro on that. I want to show a couple of things on PPP that are important. And this came from our headquarters office, just to kind of reemphasize the expanded eligibility. This will apply for both first and second draw going forward. So we have these new housing cooperatives, all these organizations. Importantly, the 3.5 factor will apply for next code 72 for your second draw, as opposed to just 2.5. And as well, that 25% reduction, proofing that is going to be obviously important, along with the 300 employee threshold. And it's important that the first draw funds are basically spent before you take your second draw disbursement. And hopefully that's not going to be a problem. Tax consequences, I mentioned the auto advance is no longer being deducted from the forgiveness payments. All of it's been all of what's being forgiven on these loans is not going to generate a 1099. So no income from that standpoint to you. Additionally, the Economic Aid Act allows you to take the expenses that you're paying for by virtue of the SBA money, the PPP loan money, is going to be still deductible. So you can still deduct those expenses from your taxes. So I think that's all very good news. We do I'm not going to get into this in detail. We do a first draw, second draw comparison. It's on our website in case you're interested. It may give you a little more insight, but what's the difference between the two? So I encourage you to take a look at that. As far as the lenders, I want to mention this. Again, I said we can, you can basically apply for this loan across the spectrum of our lenders that are active. Most of them are doing PPP. I think it's 85% of them are doing PPP loans. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. So the reason why we come up with this list, though, although we have like 140 lenders that do business in our market, these lenders are taking apps from those businesses that don't have an existing relationship with them. So like I say, if I'm not a B of A customer, I'm going to go walk over to B&A and say, I want a PPP loan. They're going to say, sorry, we're servicing our customers. Many banks are like that, even the mid-sized banks. But this list will take those applications, as well as will the fintech companies. Now, a lot of business was done with these fintech companies. Again, this information is available on our website. I'll show you how to get there. Fintech companies can get the job done quick in terms of the application. We have not had some good feedback from situations on customer service who are trying to work through your PPP loan forgiveness. So take that into account when you're doing your loan application. And let's see if I wanted to say anything else here. One other thing about the application, just so you know, as you know, it's going to go through the lender. The application will be on the lender's site. It's going to go through their review. Hopefully they'll approve it. It's then going to pass into our portal and then be going through our platform. In that place, we've added a screen now. This is new, a much more rigorous screen, and try to ensure that we don't have fraud, we don't have duplicate apps, we don't have mistakes made in some of these applications. So that's going to take some time. And there's error codes that are being generated, hold codes, and that could take three or 4 days to pass through. Your lender has to be involved, and you have to be involved in providing paperwork. For instance, if it's an EIN number issue, we would probably ask for your IRS letter that shows your EIN and make any changes we have to on the first draw as well as the second draw application. So with that said, I want to go through this, importantly, the website, and see if I can find the screen here. Okay, so watching my time. SBA, so SBA.gov, as I mentioned, the way to get to where you want to go for all this information. Funding programs, hover under there, you'll see Corona relief options. And down the page, you're going to see all the options. Now, I'm not familiar, I don't know if what we're doing here, because this was not well marketed, not well accepted by the lenders. I would expect, I don't see anything new on Express Bridge Loan, but everything else we talked about: paycheck protection, idle loan, the debt relief, the shuttered venue operators grant. And we didn't touch on this. This was just put up just a good little benchmark if you want to try to look through what are the comparisons. If I'm a PPP recipient, you know, I can get a second draw. Now I may apply for the may apply for the SVOG if you received a PPP loan prior to 12/27, 2020. So, but if you apply for anything subsequent to that, it's going to be, like Adam said, a choice between your shuttered venue operators grant or the PPP. And then can I apply for the EIDL? Yes, you can. You can't just use the money for the same purpose. So again, this may help you a little bit on getting through that question about what you can, how you can take advantage of one or more of those programs. Paycheck protection, again, Adam walked you through this, but you can certainly go to this site and it'll show you some good information summary that Adam was just referring to down the page, the terms of those loans. And then you can go down through, if you feel you're eligible, click here and apply. Targeted advance is defined here as well, what that audience is. Let's go back. Okay, shuttered venue, Adam covered that pretty thoroughly. SBA debt relief, we won't cover that again. Let's go to Paycheck Protection Program. Here, it's going to summarize what we just talked about. What's the first draw? What's the second draw? We've already covered that subject. First draw loans, separated. Second draw, PPP forgiveness, lender information, and PPP data. Each of these will have a lot of information in here. I'm going to take you through PPP first draw just real quick. On this one, if you go down through, again, it's going to give you some qualifying information, what we just talked about. And there's two things I want to point out key, the how to calculate and the application itself. I've got these already pulled up, but here's the application itself. You'll notice, make sure again, this information has to be properly filled out. This will be on your lender site, or be asked, your lender will ask you to download the application and then email it in. But at any rate, the average payrolls right here is important to get to your loan amount. Average payroll, multiply by 2.5 is going to give you the loan number, and put in your number of employees. Check the boxes where you're going to use the money. Make sure you put owners in here, 20% or greater in equity. And don't forget these key questions on eligibility. And once you're through that, you can go make sure you don't forget your certifications. This is basically a checklist to say, I'm agreeing to this. My business is agreeing that this is, I understand these terms of the loan. And then sign and date it. Please give us the demographic information. You'll see that in all cases, well, any application form, you'll see a section here on completing the application. Very valuable information. I think will help you through that. Importantly, though, there's going to always be this how to calculate, both for first and second draw, going to tell you how to calculate your loan amount, easy stepwise, by each segregated by question being what type of employer you are, and then how to calculate the loan amount. On the second draw application, I'm going to go to that, would be the same form, basically, but now you're going to do this quarterly comparison here. If you're taking a loan for $150,000 or less, you really don't have to complete this right now to submit it, but you certainly should have it as documentation back because you're going to need it for forgiveness. That comparison is going to have to be demonstrated. And you'll, other than that, this form is going to look the same, but although there's a lot more certifications, and there's a great deal of information here on how to fill this out correctly, how to do your comparisons. Down here, it's going to tell you about how to do some of these quarterly comparisons and the definition of gross receipts. And that's also on a lot of other information like the interim final rule, which I can talk to you about maybe another time. And let's see. And lastly, here's the instructions for the second draw, how to calculate. It's going to tell you how to calculate your gross receipts, which is also on that application form, how to do the comparison. And the other section is going to be the how to calculate your loan amount. I'm just going to go back to this page. So we kind of walked through this for the first, say again, the same thing for the second draw as well. And I'm going to pause at this point because I think we're right out of time. But I hope that was helpful. I know it was somewhat rushed through, but we can take your questions and we're always available. And oh, by the way, I do want to do one other thing, and that is I want to go back to make sure we show our website here. So here's the website I was talking about. The easiest way to get there is I type in Google and I say SBA Santa Ana. You'll see the link. Click on the link. Definitely take a look at this resource guide as I was mentioning, but very importantly, some of the information we talked about today, go down the page from our office, PPP and EIDL resources, And here, there's going to be webinar recordings from previous. You can look back at those recordings. We just did one 2 days ago, or one actually yesterday. We're doing another one today. And then you're going to have this section on economic aid, which this is the information where we just addressed. It's going to have different information about the programs, and more importantly as well, I mentioned that the fact that we're going to have, where to go? You're my lender list. So the lender list is here if you need it. That said, I'm going to turn it back to you at the chamber, and we can get through anyway Q&A, or we can wait on. We can certainly listen to what else you have to say and be prepared to take some Q&A.
Great. Thank you so much, Ron and Adam. That was very relevant and practical information. So yeah, we will get to questions, but first we have another video from a sponsor from Islamic Relief that we would like to play.
We are Islamic Relief USA. Ours is a story that begins at the grassroots almost 25 years ago in 1993. It begins with the hearts of a few men and women moved by stories and images of poverty and suffering in the world. Fueled and inspired in those early days by the generosity of a few donors who believed that together we can make the world better. From their sacrifice grew a worldwide network of tens of thousands of caring people who are changing the world one person at a time. Islamic Relief USA's work is guided by 5 values. Custodianship, amana. Donations are a trust, and we take it seriously. Together, we get your aid where you want it. Compassion, rahmah. We believe in the protection and dignity of every life, and we respond to suffering with compassion. Social justice, adl. We work to empower oppressed communities and help them realize their human potential. We're a voice for the voiceless, sincerity, ikhlas. We remember the roots this organization was built on, and it motivates us every day. It's why we appreciate the small victories along with the big ones. Excellence, ihsan. It's a sincerity that results in excellence that shows through the work we do. That's what has drawn major organizations to work with us, like the Red Cross, United Nations agencies, and the USDA. Together with our donors and partners, we are making waves across multiple sectors. We are at the forefront of emergency disaster relief, but we're not satisfied until our families achieve self-sufficiency. Here at Islamic Relief USA, we call it Working Together for a Better World. To learn more, visit irusa.org.
Wow, amazing stuff around the world really puts into perspective what our purposes and attention should be towards. And so with that, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Lisa Nguyen. She will discuss how to successfully apply for the loan, proper tracking of use of the loan, and about applying for forgiveness. So it's just in continuation of our discussion. And just want to mention that Lisa is a mother of 3, a serial and entrepreneur, and a small business advocate. She's a certified public bookkeeper, a certified QuickBooks Pro advisor, and a certified payroll professional. She received her business degree from Cal State Fullerton and is currently enrolled in the MIT Sloan Executive Education Program. And she is with a company called SmartBean, which is an amazing accounting company, and I'll let her take over from here.
Thank you, Safara. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Safara? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Nguyen. Thank you for the very kind introductions. I know we have shortened time, so I'm going to go straight to, I am sharing my screen. Can you confirm if you can see the agenda? Can you see my screen yet?
Yeah, yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So I know that for these type of meetings, it's very beneficial for the Q&A session. So if you have any question, just for sure put it into the chat. And then Sephora, you can stop me anytime to ask question. I think that would probably be the best way to spend our next maybe 20 minutes. So I know that Adams have already talked a lot about the eligibility requirements. Today, I'm going to focus mostly on the Paycheck Protection Program. So I'm going to touch just a little bit on the requirements because just from a consumer, right, the business owner's point of view, what are some of the things you need to look out for? Loan application process, what does that look like? Our company, Smart Bean Bookkeeping, we focus on bookkeeping, but we have been helping our clients preparing the profit and loss and help them compare with previous year to make sure that they can be eligible. And we actually have been helping them with completing applications, submitting to the SBA. So I have a lot of experience to share with you from like a consumer standpoint. What does that actually look like? So the SBA people on here, you know, feel free to jump in and give your insight as well. I'm just going to express my experience with it. And then also, of course, you know, PPP are this program is forgivable if you spend the money correctly. So it is really important to track these expenses or how you spend the loan so that when you're done with spending it, you can apply for forgiveness and do that correctly so that 100% of the loan can be forgiven. So that is where we are going today. So let's see. So requirement again. So the biggest difference between the first PPP and the second one is the revenue reductions eligibilities. You have to be able to demonstrate that at least one quarter, so any of the quarter, right, of 2020 compared to 2019, you have a reduction of a 25% or more in your gross receipts. So it's not the net income, it's the top lines. And for things like loans that you have received or grants that you have received in 2020, they know local, state, they give a lot of grants. Any of those money is not your gross receipt. So you don't include them in your calculation. So just pure income that was generated by your business, any one of the quarter in 2020 compared to 2019, if you have at least 25% reduction in revenue, you're qualified, any of the quarter. Okay. And then, you know, the second round is focused a lot primarily on smaller businesses. So you have to have less than 300 employees. I know for round one, it was up to 500 employees, but round two, up to 300 employees, and that's it. The company cannot be owned or have a majority ownership by Chinese or Hong Kong businesses or nationalists, right? As they can't be a citizen of China or Hong Kong and own these businesses and able to apply for this program or qualify for it. And your business, so for those of you that have at our startup businesses, the second round, it seems like the SBA has really opened it up to help these people more. The first round, it was almost impossible for startup to be able to get a PPP-1 loan. But on this round, as long as you have started your business prior to February 2020, you should really consider applying for the loan, and it would be your PPP-1. So here's the thing about this is, remember the 25% reduction in revenue that you have to qualify? That's only if this is your second PPP loan. If you've never got into it the first one for whatever reason, and your business was affected by COVID-19, so this would be your first PPP-1. And from my experience, for those that is applying for the PPP loan for the first time around, this time it seems to go through a lot faster. So please, if you have been affected by COVID, make sure you consider it if your business has started before February of 2020. SBA people, if any of the thing I say is incorrect, please jump in. All right. Thank you. And then let's see, next is application process. So again, I know that the SBA people have already touched on this, is you can go the traditional lenders or go to the fintech lenders. So the traditional lenders, this is what I have been advising my clients, is that if you have an existing relationship with a lender that gave you your first PPP loan and the process wasn't so painful, go back to them, right? Work with them again. They already probably have a lot of your information, and they will be able to help you out. If you didn't have a good experience, then you can consider other options. I think fintech companies, you are right in that customer service is a little bit tougher because you're calling into a call center, you're trying to get help. But I think these are good options for people as well, because you can, if you just have proper documents, fintech lenders, online lenders are great because you can go straight to their website, log in, create access to their portal. Remember, I say as long as you have good documentations. So it's so important that your documents are in good format, right? So for example, if you are going to upload a form 940 for your payroll, make sure that that form is a PDF in digital format that you download directly from your payroll company, and not, you take a pictures of the form and it's just totally not, it's not readable. For digitally readable, then you're going to have a tougher time. So just make sure document that you are supplying to them, that they are just in good format. That will make your application process go through a lot easier. And again, for the fintech online companies, they don't have, you don't have that personal relationship with the banker. So nobody going to sit there and look at your application, look at your document and validate it. It's usually just run through some kind of software that they have to read the documents. So important to have good documentations. Any question right now, Sephora?
I think you have covered a lot of the questions, but we have a question here. Will bank deposits be enough to show reduction in revenue quarter over quarter?
Yes, so you can. So it has to be, basically, you need to provide a quarter worth, right? So you would have to provide 6 months worth of bank statements, 3 months for the quarter in 2020 and 3 months for the same quarter in 2019. But yes, bank statements, not bank deposit, but the actual bank statements, you can use that. For sure. And in fact, that's what they would be asking. So to qualify, it's always good as businesses, you should have good up-to-date bookkeepings. If you need help with that, we're totally able to help you. But if you don't, then you're going to have to do the hard work of, looking at each bank statement and qualify. But absolutely, you can use bank statements. All right, then I'm going to move right along into the tracking tips, right? So like I said, it's important to have bookkeeping for your business, and you're required to file taxes for your business. So having proper bookkeepings done will be able to generate the profit and loss and the balance sheet that you need to file your taxes. But above and beyond that, accurate daily or up-to-date bookkeeping help you run your business better. And I mean, keep in mind, the pandemic is still very much strong and alive right now, right? So we are going to have these type of programs probably in this whole year, or even go into next year. So anytime you get any type of grants or loans from the government for any agency, even a nonprofit, they are going to want to see your financial statements. So now is the time. If you've been pushing this off, now is the time to get, if you have accounting background, just get QuickBooks Online, $20 a month, right? And put the information in there and get it going. If you don't have accounting background, please don't try to do that yourself, because you you will hurt yourself more than help yourself with the the time that you spend on it. But if you just need some pointers, some tips, by all means reach out to me. I can give you some tips on that, on how to set these up. But on a more focused point, for the Paycheck Protection Program, accurate bookkeeping will help you get the go through the forgiven process a lot easier. So for example, the SBA had talked about second round. They really have expanded the different categories that you can use to qualify for forgiveness, right? So you only have to spend 60% of the loan amount for payroll. The other 40% can be spent for others, just like utilities, rent, mortgage interest, and now they expanded to like software, business software. Even accounting costs is also expenses that can be count toward forgiveness. So it is important to have all your expenses categorized correctly, and if possible, if your accounting software allow you to do this, tag the expenses. Okay, so tag it for like PPP1 or PPP2, because right now people have two, and the government is actually really strict about wanting to make sure you don't double dip, right? You don't use the same expense to get forgiveness on both loans. So it's really important to have a separation of the covered period for the first one and for the second one, and the expenses accordingly. The cover period, we talked about that, is either 8 or 24 weeks periods. Really, you guys, the government just want to give small businesses money to keep us, keep you guys going forward, to keep the economy going. So they are really making it pretty easy. You just don't have to put that much effort into it, but you do need to put some effort into keeping track of this and make sure that you are spending the money correctly. I also suggest that you apply for forgiveness within 10 months after the cover period. Get it over with, get it off your books, because these Paycheck Protection Program loans, although they will be forgiven, most likely you get 100% of it forgiven, it is still a loan. It is a 2 years terms loan at 1% interest. So in your books, it still needs to show in your books as a long-term liability until it is completely forgiven. Then you can take it off your books. So you need to make sure you have it on there, and then you want to apply for forgiveness as soon as you can, so that it can be off of your book. So that if you need to, get investor or apply for another loans, all the banks, they would want to see your balance sheet. So then it's off your balance sheet as a liability. All right. The last piece I want to share is, let's talk a little bit about loan forgiveness. So for the first round, any loans that was under $50,000 can qualify for the symbol loan, right? The symbol form, 3108S. S actually stands for small business, I believe. I don't think it stands for simple. I think it stands for small business. But anyway, for first round, 50,000 or less. Second round, 150,000 or less. So they are, again, making it really simple for you to get this money, spend it appropriately to keep the economy going. But you just need to follow the guidelines and do, the applications, providing documentations. That's really all I have in terms of forgiveness. The first, I think the SBA people have mentioned this, but in case you have a question, you don't have to have already the first PPP forgiven before you can apply for the second round. But it is very advisory that we advise you that you at least have spent it all first before you try to apply for the second round, right? But so just make sure that you can have, it's okay to have two loans going on at the same time, as long as you are sensitive about the covered period, and make sure that you isolate the different type of expenses for each of the loans separately, because that's really will help your forgiveness process. And I think that's all I got.
Okay, yeah, so thank you. You put the information there. So check out smartbeanincorporated.com. And then phone number is here in case you guys have any specific questions you want to ask yourself. That was amazing. Thank you, as always, Lisa. Working with
Thank
you is
you.
great.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ron. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Lisa. We will answer some questions, but first we have one more sponsor video of Zakat Foundation.
In this world, so many things goes unseen. These are families, orphan, widows. People don't talk about them. Nobody hears their cries. They are nothing but statistics. But we listen. And we listen always, day and night, wherever and whenever. People think oftentimes we do these only overseas. We do these everywhere and all over. From Detroit to Oakland, California, from Los Angeles to New York. We listen to everyone, every time. We didn't care what religion they are. We have been serving our communities. Our patriotism is our action every single day in Institute of America. We carry the values of American people, average American men and women. We represent them. What does Zakat Foundation do? I think Zakat Foundation is a love in action, compassion in action. And I think Zakat Foundation is ordinary Americans, what they feel, and values that we give through our action every single day.
Mr. Junior, I'm voting for you.
That was very inspiring. And so we have a few more questions here. Anyone feel, free to contribute? I think some of these might have been already answered through the presentations. And we have information about the bookkeeping. Lisa provided the SmartBean contact information. The deadline for first PPP forgiveness, is there somebody that can answer that?
Yeah, this is Adam from the SBA. So the deadline for forgiveness, you actually can request forgiveness until the maturity date of your loan, but you have 10 months from the end of your covered period before loan payments would become due. So we would suggest or recommend requesting forgiveness prior to that, because obviously once you start making payments, it will get more complex, and you may have to be reimbursed for payments if you get full forgiveness. So 10 months from the end of your covered period is what we suggest.
Thank you. Also, if anyone has any other questions, you can feel free to unmute and ask questions. Or any suggestions for further topics or further information.
I have a
Hi.
question.
Yes.
It's for the SBA. I had applied last time for the COVID-19 loan. I did not get approved, and I was told that I was supposed to get the grant portion for it was only myself and one employee, and I never received it. And I tried to call before to find out what happened, and the agents were never able to find out what was the situation, why I never received the funding, and then all the funding ran out. So I'm wondering if, and then I just recently tried to apply again, and it told me, oh, you already have applied before. So will they use my old information to qualify me for the new loan coming and the new grant money?
Yes, so the new grant money is going to be based on if your business is in a low income community, and the Loan Center has not yet released what communities are identified as low income, but we expect a map or a tool soon that would show who would be eligible based on that criteria. They've started actually earlier this week sending out email notifications to people as part of the process, but they are going to go off of the original applications. There's not a new application process for the targeted EIDL advance. So you'll just need to keep an eye on your emails to see if you receive that and to determine if you're eligible for it.
Okay, I have another question. So if I was eligible for the grant money but didn't receive it because the funds ran out, will I get it, the money from last time, this time? When new funds become available?
So if you're eligible, so the new program for the advance is a different program, but it provides up to the $10,000 amount. So if you're eligible based on the low income community, and a secondary criteria is that you have to be able to show a 30% reduction in revenue for an 8-week period in 2020. If you can do that, then yes, you could receive up to $10,000 now.
Okay. So I just look out for this on my email. I'll be contacted if I qualify or.
Correct. They've started emailing people, so just keep an eye out for that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to make a comment on any questions that you have. Probably you can direct them anytime to us. We have an office directory on our website. Here's our website. Hopefully you're seeing it. But again, you go to Google SBA Santa Ana, click the link to get to our website. Definitely I mentioned the resource guide, but here's the office directory. And you'll see myself and Adam on this list. Hopefully here I am. Adam, you better be on here somewhere. I don't see you. Maybe it's on the next page.
There you go, at the bottom of that one, right there.
Okay, here it is. So emails and telephone numbers are here. Again, I know you might have a question you want to elaborate a little bit more. Sometimes an email is the best thing. So definitely take advantage of that.
I have a quick question. So for spending the money, I guess you guys mentioned 60% has to be in payroll and the rest can be spent on other eligible costs or spending. Does contractor 1099 cost qualify for the expenditure of the 40% part?
So the independent contractors are to apply on their own. That's they have a separate PPP loan application. So the answer to that is no.
Okay. And then the other question, when we say quarter over quarter, that's the same quarter of the previous year, 2019, or the previous quarter in 2020?
So you're going to compare quarter to quarter. You compare 2020. Let's say if you took the second quarter of 2020 and compared it to the second quarter of 2019. Now there's special cases, and I do think it's important to maybe note that, and I think it's important to look at the application. Let me see if I can. You're seeing my screen right now.
Yes,
this is the application form itself, and this is not only. Are you seeing my screen right now? The application.
Yes,
okay.
Yep.
So if you go down, there's a section page 4, and you'll see there's scenarios here that are saying basically, okay, how do I make this comparison? For instance, one of them says, for entities not in business during the first and second quarters of 2019, but in operation during the third and fourth quarters, applicants must demonstrate the gross receipts in any one quarter of 2020 were at least 25% lower than either the third or fourth quarters of 2019. So there's some scenarios here, and these are also addressed in the guidance that I mentioned earlier, which is this how to calculate document.
Got it.
So Ron, Adam, I had a question. I work with a nonprofit that applied for the EIDL as well as the PPP in the first round, and we received the 10K for the EIDL advance, and then also a PPP. And then later on, someone told me recently that if you receive both, that one of them doesn't become forgivable. Is that correct?
So if you recall in the screen I was showing earlier, there, as a result of the Economic Aid Act, we have basically repealed the provision in the CARES Act that said if you received an idle advance that had to be netted against your forgiveness. But that has been changed. So now again, that's so if you had a loan of a PPP loan of $30,000 and you had a $3,000 idle advance at one point in CARES Act, we had to net that, and you'd only have $27,000 of forgiveness. That's not the case now. So $30,000, regardless of your $3,000, that does not change. So if there's some reason that happened because someone submitted their application and it was already processed and they're basically showing a $3,000 loan on their loan amount, then that would be taken care of by the SBA shortly.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
One last question. What was the difference between the SBA 1 and SBA 2? Sorry, the PPP 1 and PPP 2 in this phase, in this round?
Well,
there was two of them. I think I missed that part.
Yeah, I can show you something on that. Maybe here, I can get my screen to work.
So the first round was last year. You guys mentioned this year you have two new ones. PPP.
Yes, I'm sorry, just 1 second if I can get this loaded up.
Sure.
So are you seeing the first draw, second draw on my screen?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay, so just quickly going through this, who can apply? Basically the way it was last year up to August the 8th when the program ended, this is we're reopening that up first draw with the additional benefit of more employer types being included. As I mentioned, we've got housing, with co-ops, we've got destination market organizations, 501c6s, and also news organizations were added. So these are, this is kind of a broadened program from last year. Likewise, the expansion in the amount of the expansion of the expense uses, I should say, is greater. So that take advantage of that, and that's going to be true for both first and second. As far as the eligibility on first and second, all those organizations in first are going to be applicable for the available for the loan or eligible for the second draw. And the only quick here thing there is 300 employees or less. And of course, that quarterly comparison, we have to be able to demonstrate there's a 25% reduction in one of those quarters. Terms are going to be the same, basically 1%, 5-year, everybody's going to have a 5-year term. Last year it was 2 years, then you could talk to your lender about getting it to 5 years, but it's 5 years, next deferral period's the same. And eligible uses we mentioned briefly. Forgiveness is virtually the same for both. The process is the same, and basically, and I would say the process is the same, but as Lisa pointed out, 150,000 threshold now. So anyone 150,000 or yes, and we are hopefully taking the easy form. We think the S is simple, but no one's ever told us specifically what that stands for. But if you want to call it SBA, that's fine. As far as where to apply, you can apply to any lender. Like Lisa said, you don't have to use the same lender. What it is a benefit to use the same lender in a situation where if you have changed, you say if you were a sole proprietor, now you're an S corp, or you had some other change that occurred in your business, it may be wise to stay with the same lender because sometimes it'll generate a hold when the application goes in, and you need to basically both lenders need to be communicating to try to resolve some of those issues.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I know it's a complicated process, but you guys have made it much more understandable. Thank you so much for participating.
I also want to thank Lisa for being out there as a disciple
Yeah.
and trainer, and just like all the resources, we have CPAs on our calls sometimes, and other organizations that do factoring or something SBA doesn't have facility to do. We do have our resource partners, and they're available as well for mentoring sessions. But I know there's a great deal of people that obviously were CPAs, they're reliable tax advisors. We definitely suggest that they use those resources because it is a complex world.
Mhm. But I mean, it's good that we have these resources available and people like you to help guide us through it. And we really appreciate your time today.
We're happy to do it. I just want to again thank you on behalf of the SBA of inviting us. We're available if additional, if you'd like an additional webinar, or again other activities. We'll try to keep you on our list, and love to have you sign up for our Gov Delivery and be on our mailing list. And I think again, last thing I want to say is impactful videos, well done by your sponsors. It reminds us all of that we have our part to do, and it's good to see someone out there doing just that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you everyone for attending. And we will send out if we have any other programs, we will let you all know. And also let us know what you guys want to see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.